Hello, everybody. This is Rick Will, and today I want to talk about Adventure Time. There are some shows I feel if you didn't watch them as they came out, like didn't watch the trailers, the commercials, didn't have to wait for new episodes to come out or talk about the episodes with your friends at school, you won't really understand how good they are. Adventure Time is a prime example. Watching the show grow and evolve over the years and grow up with the audience as you follow Finn and Jake through their adventures in OO just doesn't hit the same when you get into the show years later and just binge through all of it. Though I admit I wasn't always the biggest fan of Adventure Time. I did get into the show when it first came out and I watched it all the time as a kid, but by season 6, so around 2014 or so, the show started getting very convoluted and continuity heavy, to the point missing one episode could have you lost for the rest of the season. I started falling out of love with the show and would only catch episodes here and there, all the way to the OG series' end in 2018. I did a full rewatch in 2019 and it's been my favorite cartoon ever since. I've had other favorites like Avatar, Hey Arnold, Steven Universe, so on and so forth, but Adventure Time is the only one that I liked even more after a rewatch. Still, there are things I didn't like about the show, but this will be pretty different from my other videos so far since I really don't have a lot of negatives to say about it. Besides an occasional boring episode and some characters that I'll get to later, it's pretty consistent to me. This isn't a proper review, it's just what I think about Adventure Time.
Adventure time, come on, grab your friends. We'll go to very distant lands. We'll take the dog and then the human. The fun will never end. It's Adventure Time.
Adventure Time is a Cartoon Network series about Finn the human and his magic stretchy best friend Jake the dog. Heroes of the land of OO, they regularly go on adventures both for their own amusement and to help others like their friend Princess Bubblegum. The kingdom of OO is divided by a bunch of different kingdoms, but the main four are the Candy, Slime, Ice, and Fire kingdoms. Usually antagonizing Finn and Jake and the other kingdoms is the Ice King, who tries to kidnap princesses and marry them. That's about it for the main story. There is no overarching plot for the most part, it's mainly episodic with recurring characters and antagonists. There's lore that explains the origin for a lot of the characters, but you're pretty much just following Finn, Jake, and their friends' lives in OO. Earlier I mentioned how Adventure Time is one of those you had to be there kind of shows. You had to watch it when it first came out and fall in love with the colorful, wacky world of OO, and see the show start to change and grow with the audience. Add more characters and storylines, more continuity, more depth, as it became what a lot of people know Adventure Time as now. When you first start watching it, you wonder, why is he called Finn the Human? Where are the other humans? Are there any other humans, and how did Jake's family find them? And then you get episodes like Susan Strong that throw everything we thought we knew about the show on its head. Is Susan Finn's mom? Is she even human? Will she come back later? You just don't get that same level of intrigue and hype when you could watch the next Susan Strong episode a season later after a day or two of binging. The greatest strength of this show for me is its creativity. There really is nothing else quite like Adventure Time because only Adventure Time would have an episode where a worm would accidentally get the lower portion of his body cut off, and it gains sentience and becomes his little brother, and he sends it on adventures inside Finn and Jake's treehouse. Only Adventure Time would have one of the main characters shapeshift into a brick to experience a house falling apart, while narrating the nature around him for the entire episode. Okay, well, Adventure Time might not be the only ones who would do it, but they're the only ones who would do it and actually make those episodes work. There are some repetitive episodes like the Graybles, for instance, and some episodes that are boring like Box Prince. But like 90% of the time, you're going to get a very unique concept of an episode that usually hits. And even when they don't hit, I still kind of respect them for trying to do an episode as wild and out there as they usually do. The characters, for the most part, are great. Adventure Time has a huge pool of characters to do whatever they want with, and pretty much everyone gets their time to shine. In particular, Finn, Princess Bubblegum, and Ice King stand out as my favorite characters. Finn as a character is hard to describe. I can't just pin down one moment or scene that shows why he's a great character. His is a true coming-of-age story where you see him learn, grow, relearn, and mature across the entire series. Princess Bonnibel Bubblegum, who you see is paranoid and controlling of her citizens, mainly out of care and for their own good. You see her learn to trust those around her and not need to be in control and be a princess at all times. The smear campaign for My Girl Bonnie was crazy back in the day. People were calling her the true villain of the series. Some of y'all were tripping. And finally, we have the Ice King, who you learn more about his past and why he kidnaps princesses and how he became the Ice King, going insane from the crown's influence and subconsciously searching for his fiancée Betty, who left him after the crown took over. Ice King basically originated the senile old man having the sad backstory thing other shows like Gravity Falls and The Amazing Digital Circus use. Those were my three favorites, but there's also smaller characters like Susan Strong, Lemongrab, Lemon Hope, and Betty that all have really nice character arcs too. If I got to talking about all the characters, I'll be here all day, so I'm reserving myself. But now I want to talk about two characters I don't like quite as much as the other main characters. Starting with Marceline, the Vampire Queen. I can already hear the Adventure Time community marching towards my house, but I have to be honest. I'm not too big on Marceline. Her stuff with Ice King is cool, I just couldn't really get over her initial introduction and how they changed her character. At the beginning of the series, Marceline was basically the secondary antagonist right behind Ice King. She claimed she owned the treehouse they live in since she lived there years ago and kicks them out. When Finn and Jake finally decide to confront her, she tries to kill Jake, and it's kind of just brushed to the side because she had fun fighting them or something, I don't know. And she let them get their treehouse back. This worked fine for early series Marceline, but with recontextualization, the Marceline we know from her past and the rest of the series wouldn't ever do that. It's obviously one of those things where they didn't plan for her to be as big of a character as she ended up being, but I think they could have wrote around that better or given her another backstory. Also, she kind of just does evil things that's played off as jokes and quirky, like releasing wild wolves into Princess Bubblegum's room while she's asleep. And it's implied she used to prank other people with her ghost friends by tricking them into killing themselves. And the show never really calls her out when she does these things, and she doesn't ever get her comeuppance. It doesn't hold the show itself back for me, but it does stop me from liking her character all that much. Flame Princess is in a similar boat to where the bad things she does are portrayed as quirky and a joke more than an actual problem she needs to work on. Not as bad as Marceline for me, but still worth mentioning. There's not much else to say. Like I said, I don't have much criticism and there isn't an overarching story really, it's just Adventure Time. It's just good at what it does and it's highly consistent and creative. I guess I could talk about the Distant Lands specials and Fiona and Cake, but I wasn't as big on those as I was the OG series. Distant Lands was hit or miss and was only 4 specials. Together Again is peak though, I really wish they stopped with that one. And Fiona and Cake was cool, but mostly multiverse fan service, which I'm not a big fan of. And apparently there's another sequel called Adventure Time Side Quest that I haven't checked out. But for now, that's all I have to say. I appreciate everyone who stuck around this long and came along with me on this nice trip down memory lane while I talk about my favorite cartoon of all time. With all that being said, I'm Rick Will and I thank you all for watching. Bye bye.